Ready when you are.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for letting us come in today to present our plan for Titan Consolidated. I'm just going to reintroduce all of us. My name is Neil Sheth. These are my colleagues, Vikishan Parathambi, Dan Fair, and Brian Kaiser. Hello. So first, let me just run through a short summary of what we're going to be talking about today to give you an idea of how we're going to present this plan. Our goal is to ensure that the plan we recommend maximizes value for Titan and its shareholders while ensuring that it is a long-term sustainable business to meet Brighton Early's goal of ensuring a legacy business for his family. There are three options that Titan is considering for how to proceed. The first is essentially a status quo option, is just to maintain Jupiter's current business plan and move forward over the next few years in the direct mail industry with that plan and develop it as needed. The second option is to acquire Lightning LLC as a bolt-on option and use the newly merged company to compete in the direct mail industry. The third and final option is to sell the Jupiter division to Charger Capital, which made an unsolicited acquisition offer for the company. Our strategy in going through this plan and determining which is the best is not just to look at the business internally, but also to look at external factors and the market overall to see what the potential is and what the best option is for long-term sustainability. As a note, all of the assumptions that we've made in this presentation can be found in page 1 of the appendix. Now I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Vikishan, who's going to talk about how we value Jupiter.
Thanks, Neil. We want to begin by having a conversation about the valuation of Jupiter, as that valuation plays a major role in determining and evaluating the different options that Neil just mentioned, as well as any other growth strategies for Titan. We determined the value for Jupiter is between the ranges of $400 and $430 million. We use four common valuation methods used in the marketplace: the leveraged buyout method, the discounted cash flows, as well as the comparable companies and comparable transactions methods. Each of these methods, it looks at different aspects of the business, different data points in order to determine the value. The LBO method is more about the debt structure as well as the cash flows and the future EBITDA to figure out the value. The discounted cash flow looks at more of the operations of the company, all the future cash flows, as well as the growth of the company. However, when you look at the comparable companies, comparable transactions, that's more looking at historical figures, your current EBITDA, and comparing it against other companies in the industry and similar structure firms. After we ran the valuations for Jupiter with each of these methods, as you can see, we had different ranges of valuations, which is not uncommon. Once we determined the values for each of the different methods, we weighed it and evaluated it to come to our projected value between $400 and $430 million. Dan will be speaking a little bit more about the evaluation and how that plays into the different options.
Thanks, Vikishan. So as Neil mentioned, there are three strategies for Titan to consider for its Jupiter business. The first would be to maintain the status quo and just continue operating as Jupiter is currently operating. So the present value to the shareholders of this option is just the present value of the business, as Vikishan just discussed. So we value that at $400 to $430 million. Now, the advantages to this strategy would be that Jupiter's been a profitable business. It's been a profitable business for the past 3 to 4 years and is projected to remain profitable 4 or 5 years into the future. Secondly, you're providing a consistent return on investment for your customers. So not only is the status quo working for Titan shareholders in terms of a profitable business, but it's also working for your customers, and they're very satisfied with the services that Jupiter is providing. However, there are also risks that go along with the strategy as well. So by maintaining the status quo, the direct mail industry is projected to grow at 5% over the next 5 years, 5% each year. And Jupiter expects that their sales will increase at that same rate of 5%. At the same time, the sales are increasing at 5%, the selling, general, and administrative expenses are expected to increase at 4% over that same time span. So if the market begins to slow down even a little bit, you run the risk of the expense growth outpacing the sales growth for Jupiter. And finally, we live in a changing business environment. What worked great yesterday probably doesn't work so well today. What's working today isn't going to work well in 5 years. So by maintaining the status quo, you run the risk of being passed by your competition and maybe not surviving in the market. So the second option would be to acquire Lightning LLC, which is another direct mail company, as a bolt-on acquisition to Jupiter. So as you can see here, the present value to the shareholders is much higher than just the status quo. We value this at $590 million. So the advantages to this strategy, obviously the value add. $590 million compared to $430 million on the top end. There's significant value there for the shareholders. On top of that is the synergies. So Lightning currently has access to a technology that allows them to service their customers at a cheaper rate per customer than Jupiter. So Jupiter could take this technology and implement it on their own customers and save that way. They could also implement cross-selling strategies to sell their current services and offerings to Lightning's current customers and project that would increase sales by around 6%. The big risk associated with this strategy is that you're paying a premium. So in order to buy Lightning, you have to pay around $193 million. And we currently value Lightning at only about $150 million. So, and if you're going to be paying a premium, you have to realize these synergies. You can see here from this graph, at 100% synergies, assuming everything's realized and they're all implemented seamlessly, then yeah, the value is around $590 million. However, in kind of a worst case scenario, all the synergies can't be realized, and say you only realize 25% of those synergies, that value drops by $70 million, and you're down to just over $520 million. So definitely risks that need to be considered.
Is that the worst case?
Yeah, so I guess in theory you could go all the way down to 0% and say nothing is realized, and then you'd be down to about 500 million. So you drop further, but we would go into the assumption that you'd be able to achieve at least some of those, particularly more of the cost-saving ones and compared to the cross-selling.
Just in terms of the worst case, I would imagine you could actually see an integration go really wrong.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess
increasing SG&A and maybe
that's fair. Yes.
Just trying to get.
Yep.
So can I ask a question? So, there's lots of businesses like Lightning out there. Why should we pay more than they're worth? I don't understand that rationale when we could go buy other businesses.
So because Lightning has this technology specifically for they're able to serve their customers at a cheaper rate. So not only would you be getting their additional sales, but you'd also be getting their new technology, which could lower some of Jupiter's current costs. So that's probably the biggest reason, the biggest synergy there.
But that's not your recommendation. You haven't gotten to your recommendation.
Yes, that's coming one slide, I promise.
Okay.
Yes. So the last option is to the last option is to divest Jupiter to Charger Capital. As you all know, Charger Capital made an unsolicited offer of $560 million. So the value of that option is $560 million. The advantages to this option is that you're the one receiving a premium now. You asked the question of why would we pay a premium. Now someone's offering to pay you anywhere from a 30 to 40% premium, depending on whether you value Jupiter at $400 or $430 million. So now they're the one taking on the risk to make sure they're capturing those synergies. So this is a guaranteed value upon the sale. You're automatically capturing $560 million for your shareholders. And the current credit market is making the capital cheaper for Charger to acquire, and that's allowing them to make such a lucrative offer for your business. So we can't guarantee that 2 years from now or 5 years from now, a similar offer could be had. And the major risk that goes along with this one is Brian Early did make it clear that he wants to leave a legacy business for his family. So you're selling off a rather large piece of your business here with Jupiter. What does that mean for the future going forward for his family? And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brian for a recommendation.
Thank you, Dan. Board members, recommendation, divest Jupiter to Charger Capital. When we came to this decision, we used two major criteria. One, maximizing shareholder value for Titan. Two, building that legacy business that Dan had mentioned. When we think about maximizing that shareholder value, we feel that we can achieve this through the significant premium offered by Charger Capital. Additionally, when we think about the present value of the businesses, this would have the highest one for us, taking each into consideration. If we look at maintaining the status quo. Right now the business is profitable, it gives us a significant ROI. However, we're looking at revenue increase of 5% per year compared to an increase of SG&A of 4%. So we're looking to actually outpace that at some point in time. Acquiring a Lightning LLC. This could potentially be beneficial to Titan. However, when we think of synergies, they are not guaranteed. At 100%, this would be very desirable, but if we start going lower, as Dan had mentioned before, to a 50 or even a 25% level, even ignoring the fact that costs have not gone up, this no longer looks as profitable as divesting the company. Building a legacy business, this is something important to us as well. It's been expressed by the CEO that he wants a legacy to be passed on to his family. We feel this is the best way to do it because it's going to strengthen Titan as a company as a whole. By capturing the value now, while credit markets are this strong, we'll be able to receive the price quoted at $560 million, which is still significantly higher than the current price of Jupiter being valued today. Secondly, these funds will allow us to potentially look into new markets and different revenue streams that could add on to Titan's bottom line, which Neil will now look at now.
If I can stop you for 1 second.
Yes,
So I think that all makes sense and obviously can be very attractive to us. You know, the risk he cited on the previous slide was really around the legacy. I mean, what else could happen that prevents this sale of the Charger from going through?
What else could prevent the sale? On our end, assuming that everything that Charger is looking at is good, we wouldn't see anything necessarily negatively going forward. My only pushback would be potentially from management. I feel that the top line management from Jupiter would be carried forward just because of the profitability of the company. Looking at other employees, if there's any consideration or concern rather, that some synergies would be realized by moving them, we can look at moving some of those into the different areas of our portfolio at Titan.
Would you recommend opening up the sale process to more than just Charger? You know, we have an offer on the table from Charger, but do you think we have an obligation to see if there's potentially other buyers that may offer more?
This is definitely a road we can go down. The offer was unsolicited, so this was not something that we particularly looked at within this recommendation. If this is something that we feel we need to do moving forward, we can definitely take a look at that then.
Is that something your firm could help us with?
Absolutely.
So to bring up the questions about insuring a legacy business, they're really quite relevant considering our recommendation is to divest Jupiter. So one way is to use the money that we get from the sale of Jupiter and implement a program that would help increase the value of Titan, both for its shareholders as well as to its clients. Our idea is to leverage Titan's existing market in providing marketing solutions as well as cloud service solutions and implement a data analytics program. So many companies now are looking for an integrated solution for marketing, cloud storage, as well as data analytics. Titan can help provide that using the funds that we would get from divestiture. So by leveraging this, we're adding value for our clients. Furthermore, we're also obtaining additional information about our clients, getting to know them better, which helps us serve them better. We want to expand to new clients as well using this program, so we can use data analytics to attract clients who are only looking for integrated solutions, who are looking for data analytic solutions. The growth market of data analytics is higher than the direct mail industry, and so we hope that by investing these funds in a higher growth industry, we're helping to ensure a sustainable legacy business. Thank you for your time. We'll now answer any questions you might have.
Let's assume as a board we decide not to pursue other strategic alternatives and accept the bid from the Charger. What value do you provide and what would you propose doing on our behalf?
So what you mean by that question
What I
is
mean by,
that
we have an unsolicited offer, let's assume everything works well. What are you going to do what's your role in assisting us in working with Charger and their professionals and ensuring that the transaction closes? In other words, as an investment bank, what are you going to do for us?
Mm-hmm. So our expertise in helping these divestitures take place really focuses on the management and making sure that management is on board and how to coordinate the sale appropriately. So a lot of what many banks focus on is simply the numbers, making sure that the right division goes to the right place, making sure that everything is done according to the plan, writing up the contracts. But that's only half of the problem. There's also people involved, people whose lives and careers are involved. And so oftentimes, if people are not on board, if people don't know exactly what is happening, why, if they're not invested into it themselves, these sorts of plans can be very difficult to carry out. So one of the services that we provide is to help bring in our expertise from our experience in helping companies of all sizes go through these transitions. And so we believe that that would be an additional value that we would provide to you should this be your decision.
Any other questions? Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.